Sports fans, it's time for the final episode of Plead Your Case for the fall 2022 semester. I'm your host for today, Caleb Yauger, one last time, joined alongside Joe Veneziale and Brock Owens. We've done this a time or two, but we're going to wrap it all up today. We're going to be talking about the World Cup moving into the quarterfinal round of the competition. A lot of good national teams in this competition as well. The College Football Playoff, the top 4 teams have been announced, and we'll wrap up all of our discussion one final time with the NFL. We're moving into the end of the regular season. We obviously have to talk about some division winners, possible wildcard teams, and award winners as well. So you know what to do. Sit back and relax. It's time to plead your case. Our first topic is going to be the World Cup, the most famous sport around the globe, bringing everyone together, heading into the quarterfinal round. First question I want to ask to these guys, Joe Veneziale and Brock Owens. The United States put up a really good fight in this World Cup, really drew in the emotion of the country. And what were your thoughts about how this team performed overall?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Caleb, they played a really good Netherlands team to unfortunately be eliminated. But nonetheless, I mean, this team has a very, very bright future, especially Christian Pulisic, however you want to say it. I mean, he is the Captain America of this team, and it's true because he does perform well overseas, and he plays for the Premier League in Chelsea, but especially on the national stage to show what he can do, to sacrifice himself to make that goal, to move on and play the Netherlands. People didn't even think in the last 10 years, the last decade, that the U.S. would get back to where they can be. And this team is young and very promising. Now,
Brock, this U.S. team was not predicted to really make it out of the group stage, especially when they faced England in that group stage as well. What were your thoughts about the U.S.'s performance?
Yeah, there's no doubt. You bring up the England match where they ended up with a tie 0-0, so great defense. And they showed great defense pretty much throughout the tournament. And that was really promising, as Joe said. I mean, myself, I'm not a huge soccer fan, but I followed the World Cup a little bit. And what I noticed was that, I really didn't expect them, like many people, to go very far. We don't do soccer very much over here. And, we call it soccer, unlike the entire rest of the world. It's just not a big thing in America. But, they made a great push, and it actually spread pretty well in America, their run, because they put up a promising, run in this tournament.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, Caleb.
No, go ahead.
And yeah, no, it's just they have a lot of promising midfielders as well. I just forgot to mention a few. Seth Adams, as well as the defender in Keane. But nonetheless, I mean, like you said, it brought America together, and they're showing great on the big stage. And people didn't think they were going to make it this far. And especially, I'm very, very excited for the future.
Now, we have to talk about the games that are going to be happening in the quarterfinal round. The first matchup, Croatia and Brazil, led by Neymar and company. Who you got in that matchup?
So, yeah, I'm going to take Brazil in this one. Neymar and company have been going at it for a good part of the better half the decade. So, yeah, I'm going to take Brazil handily in this one. Croatia, though, do not sleep on Croatia at all. They are a very well-defended team, and Luka Modric is one of the best soccer players in the world and showing it on the World Cup right now. But, yeah, I'm taking Brazil in this one.
Yeah, I expect this to be one of the better matches out of the quarterfinals. Of course, in the quarterfinals, you're going to have good matches, but I think this is maybe the biggest toss-up for me. It's at least close, and I see it go either way, like I said, but I'm going to disagree with Joe. I got to go with Croatia. I think they're going to be able to shut down Brazil's attack a little bit, maybe get a 1-0, a 2-1 win, and be able to move on, and I think they're going to pick up this win that I don't know that a lot of people are expecting them to necessarily, but I think it would be a good win, and I think they can do it.
Now, Neymar and Modric obviously have experience playing each other back in La Liga, where when Neymar was a former part of the Barcelona squad along with Lionel Messi, and then Modric obviously with Real Madrid. So those two butting heads once again. I'm going to go with Brazil. It's been a while since they've had a really, really good team like this. I mean, they always put together a solid team, but this time around I think they're looking for a little revenge in Qatar in 2022. Netherlands and Argentina. Netherlands getting the 3-1 win over the United States to get to this part of the World Cup. Argentina, 2-0 loss to start out against Saudi Arabia. The fan base was really, really worried about that, but 3 straight wins after that, building on that momentum. Can they win over this Netherlands squad?
Caleb, as much as I dislike to say this because Lionel Messi is one of the greatest footballers over there of all time in Europe, I mean, just to grace the Europe's presence, with his play. But I am a big fan of the Netherlands, and, as much as it pains me to say this, I am taking the Netherlands in this one. They have been solid as well as the recent part of the last 3 years, and they have one of the best defenders in the world, Virgil van Dijk, who also plays for Liverpool in the Premier League. And also another player that I want to point out, Daley Blind, the left back that is 39 years old, put up 2 against the USA, and he's just moving like he's 21 out there. So I love the Netherlands in this game, and unfortunately to Lionel Messi in his last World Cup, he's going to have to lose to the Dutch.
I'm once again going to go to the other side. I think Messi's going to be able to put up a goal himself in this game, just like he's done so many times throughout his career, and I think he's going to will Argentina to yet again another close victory over the Netherlands.
Messi and Angel Di Maria, those 2 very experienced players on this Argentinian squad, I think they're going to get the win over the Dutch and move on to the next round. Now we have a big matchup between 2 huge countries that really love the game of football, England and France. It doesn't get any better than this. Joe, which one are you going to go with?
France. Straight up. I mean, Kylian Mbappe is leading the World Cup in goals right now. And once I side because England is a very, very good team. I mean, 0-0 to the USA. That was just a great performance on the USA's part on that, but don't let that undermine the fact that England produces the best soccer players in the world at a recent basis, at a large basis at that. So, yeah, this is going to be a matchup of the World Cup right now, a matchup of the century, but I'm taking France wholeheartedly.
Now, Brock, you going to go the opposite again this time?
Well, what I was talking about for earlier, the Croatian-Brazil game, that was one of the big toss-ups. This was like the other one for me. And I am going to go with the other side. I think England has just a slightly better overall team, and I think they're going to be able to edge out France. It's going to be a good one, just like Joe said once again. I think a lot of these quarterfinal matchups are really good matchups, but I have to go with England. I think their squad's just a little better.
I might have to go with France 2-1. One goal differential. Okay. It's not going to be a blowout whatsoever. England and France, they both have some of the top players in the world, and they can play at any club and make them better. Harry Kane, Raheem Sterling, Jack Grealish off the bench. I mean, that's a really good lineup. Plus France, Mbappe, Antoine Griezmann, Olivier Giroud. I mean, the names go on and on and on for both of these teams. Now we've got Morocco and Portugal. Portugal, I wrote down on my paper here, Portugal most likely, but by the time we started the show, the game was over against Switzerland, 6-1, that final score. But Morocco stunning Spain in penalty kicks and taking down one of the powerhouses in the world for the game of soccer.
Yeah, Caleb, like you said, just the last part. I love that Morocco just pulled that upset against, like you said, one of the top nationalities in the sport of soccer. Nonetheless, they pump out so many great players, I should say, in that. But they're going up against a very, very good Portuguese team. They didn't even have their starters in today, and they won 6-1 against Switzerland. Morocco, like I said, great story. I'm really happy for them. I mean, that shootout, I saw the highlights, insane. But nonetheless, I see Ronaldo and the starters, Rafael Leao as well on the Portuguese team, one of my favorite players to watch right now. And, yeah, I got the Portugal wholeheartedly and moving on their way into the finals as well.
Brock.
Yeah, I've gone the opposite of Joe the last 3 times. That's not going to continue here. I got to go Portugal. They were so impressive in their match today, and I think that's going to continue, and they're going to be able to make a possible run. And right now, they're my favorite, at least, to win the Cup.
I think Portugal is going to win this one over Morocco. Now we have to pick one winner to win the World Cup in general, okay? Brock, we're going to start with you this time. Who is going to be your winner, since you can't just base it off Joe? I'm kidding.
Okay, so like I said, I think Portugal's going to win. I think it's going to be them and Argentina in the finals because I just want to see Messi and Ronaldo in the finals. I really do. I think that'd be awesome. And I think that as much as I'd like to see Messi get it, because I think this might be his last World Cup, we'll see.
Yeah.
But I don't think. The Portuguese team just looks really good.
See, Brock, I have Portugal in my final. But I have somebody different because I picked the Netherlands to beat Argentina. As much as I am a big fan of the Netherlands, I'm taking them in the final as well. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to agree with you, Brock, on this one. You were disagreeing with me. Now I'm going to agree with you.
Go.
Yes, no, I'm taking the Portuguese as well. Just all-around great team. I mean, I list the stars as well. I mean, they have so much down the line as well in the defense. Yeah, I'm taking the Portuguese as well.
Well, the last time that France was in the World Cup, they won. So I'm going to choose France once again, and we're just going to leave it at that. We'll be back with more on Plead Your Case when we talk about the College Football Playoff.
Welcome back to this week's NFL Pick'em segment. I'm your host, Seth Adams, and here I'm joined by last week's winner, Spencer Frattare, the king of the air guitar, and I have here Ryan Martin with me, Ravens Rock 889. Gentlemen, we got some awesome games. We have 7 divisional matchups. Let's get right into it with Thursday Night Football. We got our beloved producers, Raiders, 5-7 Raiders at 3-9 Rams. Boys, what you got? We're going to start with you, Spencer.
Yeah, well, guys, I don't see Michael Saliba here. He's 0-2 against me all time, so I think we're just going to not let him back on the mini segment. But with that being said, I picked the Raiders last week. I liked how they played. Devontae Adams is him. Guys, I think he's one of the best wide receivers in the league right now. Jay Jettis is cool and all, but I'm going Devontae every time because if you throw it down there, Devontae is down there somewhere. Give me the Raiders.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Raiders too. The Rams do not have Cooper Kupp or Matthew Stafford for this game, which is huge. The Raiders should win pretty easily with all their offensive weapons they have. Give me the Raiders to win this easily.
All right, boys, let's get into the 1 o'clock games. First, we got the 10-2 Vikings at the 5-7 Lions. Spencer, go ahead.
I think this is pretty easy, although we'll see what Ryan does. But I'm going to go ahead and take the Vikings. I think this is an easy game. I mean, when it's 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock, Captain Kirk plays pretty dang well. So with that being said, give me the duo of Captain Kirk and Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Lions in this game. I mean, the Lions have almost won 5 of their last games, losing to the Bills in a close game as well. But the Lions' offense is something special, and I think they're getting Jameson Williams back, and I think they win this game in an upset.
You call me delusional. All right, let's get to the Ravens and Steelers. We got the 8-4 Ravens at the 5-7 Steelers. Another divisional matchup, AFC North battle. Ryan, let's go with Ravens Rock 889. What you got?
Of course, man. I got the Baltimore Ravens. Simply because Tyler Huntley is a better quarterback than Kenny Pickett, and that's not an insane thing to say. He is better in almost every aspect, even throwing, running. He's just better. And so is the Ravens roster. Their defense is just better, taking them over the win, or the Steelers.
Guys, this is a game that I just don't want to vote on. I'm a Browns fan. I hate the Steelers. I hate the Ravens. I do think you're delusional for saying that Tyler Huntley is better than Kenny Pickett. I don't think Kenny Pickett's all that good, but I mean, Tyler Huntley doesn't have an arm. He's like a poor man. He's like a poor downgraded version of Lamar Jackson. So with that being said, I think the Steelers have a pretty easy game. They're at home. Give me the Steelers.
All right, boys, we're staying with the AFC North. We got the 5-7 Browns at the 8-4 Bengals. Spencer, let's go back to you. What you got?
Yeah, I mean, Watson shook off all the rust. I won't lie, it was not a pretty game from Deshaun Watson, but the defense was there, and that's all that matters. Huge game from the Browns defense. With that being said, I think all the rust has been shaken off. Give me the Browns. I think Deshaun Watson's going to have a huge game against this Bengals defense.
Yeah, I still think that Deshaun Watson is terrible, and he should never play on a football field again, but I'm going to take them because Joe Burrow has never won against the Browns in his entire career. He's 0-5. Give me the Browns defense winning over the Bengals.
We got another AFC East matchup here. We got the 7-5 Jets at the 9-3 Bills. What you guys going on? What's going on? What's going on, Spencer?
I think this is an easy one here for Josh Allen. There's no way you're going to lose to the Jets twice in 1 year. Yeah, the Jets are having a good year, but they're in Bills Mafia. They're in Buffalo. I think this is an easy one. I think Stephon Diggs is going to go for 3 touchdowns and 200 yards on the PI machine, Sauce Gardner. He is not good. He is overrated.
Well, wow. That's just an outlandish take right there. He called me crazy, but yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with the Bills. The Jets are starting Mike White, and I mean he's been okay. He's been really good actually, but I just don't see him doing well against this Bills defense, which is really good as well.
All right, we got kind of a very strange game here. We got the 1-10-1 Texans at the 9-3 Cowboys, but. You know, Ryan, what are your thoughts on this one? I mean, I think it's pretty obvious.
Cowboys are winning easily in this game. And it pains me to say this because I don't really like the Cowboys too much, but I mean, the Texans put up a pitiful performance against the Browns where they threw multiple interceptions, had multiple fumbles against the Browns defense. Give me the Cowboys easily.
You know, I'm surprised, Ryan, that you didn't take the Texans with all the outlandish picks you've made so far. With that being said, I will say easily it's the Texans. I'm going to go with the Cowboys. The Texans have been awful all year.
All right, boys, we got another divisional. We have tons of divisional matchups. We have the NFC East, 11-1 Eagles at the 7-4-1 Giants. The Giants took a tie last week. Spencer, what are you thinking about this
I'm
week?
going to say it like I did last week. Shout out my guy Shane. I'm going Birds. It's Go Birds Nation. The Giants with the tie against the Commanders. I mean, are you kidding me? Give me the 10-1 Eagles. This is an easy win for the Birds.
You know, you might laugh at the Commanders and all, but they did win against the Eagles before, and the Giants tied with them. Giants are also getting back multiple players on their roster. Give me the Giants over the upset win against the one-loss Eagles.
All right, boys, we have another divisional matchup. The 4-8 Jags at the Titans. I don't really know. They look two pretty mediocre teams right now. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, give me the Titans here. I mean, history shows that when Derrick Henry has a bad game, he's going to bounce back. So give me King Henry. He's going for at least 125 rushing yards. Expect him to have at least 2 TDs. I don't think this Jaguars run defense is going to be able to hold King Henry.
Yeah, I mean, whenever King Henry plays the Jaguars, he always goes over 200 yards. But I don't care. I'm taking the Jags in this one. Trevor Lawrence is going to be going insane against his Titans defense, which I think is purely overrated. Give me the Jaguars.
Okay, yeah. Well, let's get right into the 4 o'clock games. We have the 9-3 Chiefs at the 3-9 Broncos. The Chiefs had a pretty rough game against the Bengals, so what are you guys thinking?
Last week I took the Chiefs. It did not work out. It got me the win, though. With that being said, like I said last week, I am so tired of watching the Broncos football team play football. Their defense really isn't that good. 2 weeks ago, they got pummeled by the Carolina Panthers. They go ahead. They're at home this week. But with that being said, give me Patty Mahomes and Travis Kelce. I think this is one of the easiest wins for the Chiefs all year.
Well, saying the Broncos defense has been bad that was a terrible take. However, this might be a terrible take too. I'm going to take the Broncos over the Chiefs, and I think their offense will finally be able to do something, score more than 20 points, which will allow them to get the win.
That is blasphemy. Anyway, let's get right back into it. We got the 4-8 Panthers at the Seahawks, who have been a surprise all year. Who you got, Spence?
I like the Seahawks here, guys, and I was able to watch that Rams-Seahawks game last week, and that was a fun game to watch. DK Metcalf pretty much owns Jalen Ramsey now and pretty much showed the whole world how overrated Jalen Ramsey is, scoring 2 touchdowns last week, a huge game-winning touchdown from DK Metcalf. With that being said, Panthers fresh off a bye. I still don't think they have enough. Give me the Seahawks.
Ryan?
Sam Darnold is going to channel his USC days and get an absolute unexpected win over the Seattle Seahawks, who I think are heavily overrated again. I mean, they've just got some lucky wins, I'd say. So I'm giving the Panthers over the Seahawks in this one.
All right, well, we're gonna just ignore that. Let's continue our 4 o'clock games where we got the 6-6 Buccaneers at the 8-4 49ers. We got Brock Purdy. What we thinking, Mr. Irrelevant? You think he's gonna ball out?
I'm taking the 49ers here, but with whatever Ryan's gonna do, I mean, I might say that the Browns are gonna go to the Super Bowl at this point with the amount of outlandish things that are being said. But like I'm saying, I'm gonna go with the 49ers. No Jimmy G, no problem. The Niners offense will roll over the Bucs defense.
No Jimmy G, big problem. All right, we're talking about Mr. Irrelevant here against the GOAT. That is crazy to say that they'll win. I know the 49ers defense is one of the best in the NFL as well, as the Broncos are, but the Tampa Bay defense are also good. I mean, we got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin on the sides. I mean, who's going to cover them? There's nobody.
Okay, all right. Well, let's get right back into Sunday Night Football, where we have a pretty good game, a pretty good matchup here. We have the 8-4 Dolphins at the 6-6 Chargers. Going to be a good game. Spencer, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is going to be game of the week right here, guys. A Sunday night game. It's going to be a fun one to watch. I was originally going to take the Dolphins, but they just really didn't play well last week. And after Jimmy G got hurt, they still didn't play well. The offense really couldn't do much. With that being said, give me Jay Herbo and the Chargers. I like them. I like their offense so far. They had a rough week against the Raiders, but, the Raiders usually don't play well. I didn't even expect them to win. I picked them last week, but I really didn't think they would win. With that being said, Mike Williams might have a chance to come back. Give me the Chargers offense. Easy dub against the Fins.
Mike Williams might be coming back, but who are they getting back on defense? That defense is atrocious. Give me the Dolphins winning. And every team has a bad week. The Dolphins are going to bounce back and win this game.
All right, we got one more game. We got Monday Night Football, very, very mediocre game. We have the 6-6 Patriots at the 4-8 Cardinals. What's going on, Spencer?
I'll take the Cardinals and give me D-Hop. I think Mac Jones is about as reliable as Baker Mayfield, and Baker Mayfield is not reliable. So with that being said, I think it's an easy win at home for the Cardinals. I just don't think Mac Jones can do anything with this Patriots offense.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough. But Bill Belichick, he's the best coach all time. Cliff Kingsbury, he stinks. He's terrible. Give me the Patriots winning. They're both two very bad teams, but this Patriots defense can hold the Cardinals offense and get the win.
All right, boys. Well, we had some great discussions here. We have 5 teams on a bye this week. We have the Bears, Commanders, Packers, Saints, and Colts, so we will not be seeing anything from them today. But thank you so much for tuning in for our Pick'em segment, and stay tuned for more sports content right here on PYC.
You're watching WCTV, where we aim to bring you the best local coverage of what you care about most. Everything from local businesses to hometown sports and the latest weather. We're keeping up to date with what you need to know about issues that affect our campus and our community. We're telling the stories that matter, celebrating our past, our future, and our potential. So tune in for all the latest buzz right here on WCTV Channel 14, Waynesburg.
Time to talk some college football next year on Plead Your Case. We have the college football playoff bracket being announced. Georgia, Michigan, TCU, and OSU. The gentlemen on the panel here are going to be giving their predictions and their breakdowns of each of those teams. Let's start with Georgia, the defending national champions at 13-0. Where do you see the Bulldogs and how they've come so far into the season?
I think the answer is pretty similar to the one of last year. It's their defense. It's not quite as dominant as last year after they lost so many of their great players, but it's still just a really, really good squad, and they don't really give up that many points. And when you mix in the offense that has been even better this year than last year, there's no doubt that they have a chance to obviously win the national championship. They're the number 1 team, and they deserve that, to be honest with you. They had a great season. Stetson Bennett's not really a tremendous quarterback. I don't think he should be on the Heisman ballot. I'll just say that. But when you mix him and weapons like Brock Bowers, who's incredible, and the run game they have, the offense just overall is really solid, mixed with one of the best Ds in the country as well.
Yeah, they're just a well-coached team. And like you said, they've been dominant last year as well as their defense, and it's been the same this year, as Brock alluded to. But Stetson Bennett, I don't know if I fully agree with you on him not being on the Heisman ballot, because I understand, because Hendon Hooker honestly had a better year than Stetson Bennett and did not play the last 2 games. But nonetheless, he is still a very high percentage quarterback to be on that Heisman ballot. And Georgia, like you said, dominant last year, dominant this year. They deserve to be the number 1.
Now, the Michigan Wolverines also 13-0. I remember talking at the beginning of the season that Michigan was undefeated, and I even personally said they haven't played any quality opponents yet, but I think at this point that you can say that they have played quality opponents and they deserve this number 2 spot.
Yeah, I did. If you had asked me coming into the season, I would not have picked them to beat Ohio State. I thought Ohio State had the better team, and I still think their talent level might be even better, but the way Michigan plays is just why they win so much. They just wear teams out. They did it against Penn State. They did it against Ohio State. It was close. You remember the Penn State game. You look at the final score, it looks like Michigan absolutely beat them down, but Penn State was up 17-16 halfway through the 3rd quarter. But Michigan just absolutely wore them out. Penn State had nothing left to give, and Michigan just ran right through them for the second half of the 3rd quarter and the 4th quarter. They just wear teams out so well with the run game, one of the best offensive lines in the country, and they have some really good receivers too, with Ronnie Bell and Cornelius Johnson and Roman Quinn as well. So the 3 wide receivers plus a great run game, really hard to stop.
And Brock, the one point that you did point out is that they finish games, and that's the biggest part of the Wolverines this season by far, is because it was a different team from last year. I mean, they were a great team nonetheless. I mean, going up against Georgia in that playoff spot as well. But Michigan can definitely finish games this year, especially at a high level. And Ohio State was regarded as one of the best teams in college football coming into that game as well. But Michigan handled business as they did last year as well. And all the names Brock alluded to, I have the same notes on mine, and they've just been absolutely phenomenal. Junior Colson on defense as well for Michigan. Michigan's defense is fantastic at the moment. Having some injuries coming into the year, but they found their rhythm and they found their place, as well as losing Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards taking that running back spot. Caleb, I love the Michigan Wolverines.
Now, TCU at 12-1. Joe, we'll go back to you first. They lost to number 11 Kansas State. That is the only loss of the season. Couple of close calls for TCU as well, but what do you think of the Horned Frogs?
I do really like the Horned Frogs this year. I mean, their defense as well, just as a whole, have been great. The Hypno-Toad, I don't know if you guys have seen that. They've rallied around it from Futurama, but I love the fan base. I mean, go Frogs. I've been saying it all my life as watching LaDainian Tomlinson be at TCU, but it's a really hard-hitting program, especially for Max Duggan, the quarterback. Losing that game against Kansas State, I saw the press conference after. He's really emotional, and they are a very good team at that 3rd spot. I mean, Kansas State as well, being at the 10th spot, they were also a great team in the Big 12 this year, but I do love the Horned Frogs, and they deserve to be at this 3 spot where they are.
I personally believe TCU is the worst team in this 4-team bracket. I don't think they're better than any of the other ones, but they had a really good season. They were able to have an undefeated regular season, and even though they lost the Big 12 championship, since it was in overtime, they were able to sneak themselves in, only a 1-loss team. There really wasn't any other one of those teams to put in there. So, yeah, they weren't the Big 12 champion or anything, but they do deserve to be here. And I really like the way their offense works. Kind of like Joe was saying, they really run hard. They break a lot of tackles, more tackles than pretty much any other team in the country as a whole, not just one player, but pretty much everyone on their offense. They go 3 deep at running backs. Max Duggan, as he said, who's a much more worthy Heisman candidate, in my opinion, than Stetson Bennett. I think that they just run really hard. They have a pass game as well with one of the top receivers in the country in Quentin Johnson.
And finally, the Ohio State Buckeyes at 11-1, the 1 loss coming against the Michigan Wolverines. What do you think of the Buckeyes? And we kind of predicted that they would be at this point because even in the preseason, we knew that this team was going to be really, really good and competitive.
You know what, Caleb? I do not like the Ohio State Buckeyes. Plain and simple. But the reason why I don't think they should be at this 4 spot, and we want to allude to later, but the number 5 spot, Alabama. I mean, Alabama also a 1-loss team at the number 5 spot. And Ohio State, it does make sense as they did lose to a higher ranked team in Michigan to where, I could see them being at that 4 spot, but they dropped off really hard at the end of the season. I mean, losing at the shoe against Michigan, I mean, they never want to do that in the first place, but it really took a hit on them. Why they're at their 4 spot, they should have been higher coming into the season as well as midway through the season, but, it is what it is, and they are at the 4 spot.
Yeah, I disagree with Joe there. I think Ohio State greatly deserves the 4 spot. They had a tremendous season. They lost 1 game to the number 2 team in the country, and Alabama is not a 1-loss team. They lost 2 games. They lost to Tennessee and LSU. So there's no doubt that Ohio State deserves this spot, in my opinion, over Alabama or Tennessee, who are the next 2 teams. And, I think they're a great team. They have a lot of talent, especially offensively. I don't think there's better skill positions offensively for any other team in the country. C.J. Stroud's a good quarterback, and the receiver room is definitely the best in the country, in my opinion.
All right, so we're going to talk about Alabama next. I wanted to touch on that point quickly. They're in the number 5 spot, just missing the college football playoff. Do you guys think that Alabama should be in that spot? Reasons for that or reasons why they shouldn't be there? Brock?
I think that, personally, I probably would have ranked Ohio State above TCU, But I knew they weren't going to do that because they didn't want a rematch of Ohio State and Michigan already. If we're going to get that rematch, they want it in the national championship. So that's my opinion of why it's ranked the way it is. But TCU, if they would have lost worse in the Big 12 championship, if they had lost by double-digit points, I don't think they would be in the playoff. I really believe that a 2-loss Alabama team probably would have been placed above them if Kansas State was able to really just push TCU around. But they didn't. TCU stuck around with Kansas State, and it went to overtime. So, I mean, how are you going to say a 1-loss team with their loss being to overtime against a highly ranked team in Kansas State? I mean, how are you going to say that is worse than 2 losses? I don't know. I think Alabama is just as good a team as TCU probably, if not maybe a little better, to be honest. But their resume, I have to give it to TCU.
You bring up a good point in the resume. You alluded to a point where I missed. I completely forgot about the LSU loss. And the point that I want to make there is that they lost to a really good Tennessee team at the time. I mean, the Volunteers threw 2 goalposts in the river. I mean, that was one of the best college football games of the past year. I mean, of this year, I would say. But nonetheless, it's Alabama, in my opinion, should be here only for the fact that if they wouldn't have lost in LSU, I feel like they make this spot. But, I mean, again, it is the SEC. Tennessee was a very hard place to play, and so is Baton Rouge. So, nonetheless, I believe that Alabama should be in this spot, but 2 losses is not going to make that happen.
All right, out of the 4 teams in the college football playoff, real quick, winner of it all, who's it going to be?
Go Blue. Michigan Wolverines, baby.
Shocker.
Simple as that.
Joe, over the last couple of years, I have no idea how many times the 2 of us have been up here, and I have really just I don't even know, just torn you to shreds.
They're the best team in the country, bro.
And I'm here to tell you, Joe, that it's not happening again. I am taking Michigan to win the national championship, Joe. I love the way they play. I don't think that anyone is able to stop their run game. J.J. McCarthy is a decent quarterback, but he's good enough to get it done. He's similar to Stetson Bennett, and I think that the Harbaugh way of playing is good enough to get it done with this squad.
Wow.
I'm just going to go different here and go with Georgia.
Yep.
I think they're going to go back-to-back champions. But the last time we talked about college football in the 12-team format, these 2 absolutely ripped each other's heads off. But they shook hands and they made up for it. It's a great day here on PYC. When we come back, it's the final segment of the 2022 fall semester, talking some NFL. When we come back on WCTV.
Have you ever been to the Everly Library? If not, you should, because it's great. They have books of all different genres: history, biography, fiction. Try The Evolution of Life, Life of Pi, or Jurassic Park. So what if books aren't your thing? Try movies like Frozen, or TV shows like Lost. Books and DVDs aren't the only thing though. Take a trip to the 2nd floor. Welcome to the Writing Center. These tutors will tell you everything you need to know about writing a paper, and they'll help revise your essays. Now let's head back down. Behold, the Knox Learning Center. Need to print something out 5 minutes before your next class because you procrastinated? No problem. You can also print off pictures of dogs. Because, well, you can. So grab your homework, laptop, and textbook, and study diligently. Bring your lunch too. Actually, you can't. That's illegal. Now you know the Everly Library. Stop by anytime. Seriously, it's open all week.
We are getting closer and closer to the end of the NFL regular season. It's time to pick some division winners. We're going to break it down into 2 big groups, the 4 winners of the AFC divisions and the 4 winners of the NFC divisions, 8 total. So we're going to start with the AFC first, and Joe and Brock are going to break it down for us today. AFC winners, Joe, we're going to start with you.
In the East, I got the Bills. Bills are having a great season, obviously. The West, I have the Chiefs. The North, I have the Bengals, and the South, I have the Titans. Chiefs and Bills, obviously, are at the top of the AFC. I believe they're going to stay up there as well. I mean, Mahomes and the Chiefs have one of the best offenses in the NFL, and as they were last year, and still going to stay the same. And like I said, Mahomes just undoubtedly is winning the AFC for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, we don't always agree, Joe, until the end of that last segment there, but I literally have the exact same. For every single division, there's only a couple that are close, really, with the NFC South, with the Bucs, but, I mean, the Bucs haven't been great this season, but come on. Am I going to pick the Falcons, really? No, I'm not going to do that, but the Cowboys are down a couple games in the East, and they're a good team, but I don't think they're going to catch up to the Eagles. And, you know, the AFC East has been pretty close as well, but the Bills, I think, are easily going to pull it out as well.
So the AFC West 9-3, the Chiefs are. There's going to be no doubt about those two, in my opinion. The AFC North, the Ravens and the Bengals, both teams at 8-4. Obviously, Lamar Jackson is going through an injury right now. The Bengals have a possibility of taking over that spot. Do you think it's as close as it seems, or do you think the Bengals are going to run the table?
It's close, but I believe that the Bengals will run the table. I mean, they had a great game against the Chiefs this past Sunday, and Joe Burrow and his offense have been finding their rhythm, as well as Pirine in the backfield for them is putting up phenomenal numbers, as well as he hasn't been in there too long, but he's been doing great. Yeah, I think the Bengals take that.
Yeah, I think pretty easily the Bengals. I had it being really close, and if Lamar was still available, I would probably consider the Ravens, and I might even pick the Ravens. But without him, with Tyler Huntley at quarterback, I mean, come on. I'm not going to pick them. They have the same record as the Bengals right now. They're not going to have a better record than the Bengals the rest of the year.
Now, the AFC South is kind of one of the laughing stocks of the NFL right now. The Titans are probably going to easily win that at 7-5, the only team that's above 500 in that division. The former laughing stock of the NFL, though, was the NFC East, but each of those teams are above 500, a very competitive division. Let's see what you guys have in terms of predictions for the 4 NFC winners.
Yeah, I'm going to start out the East. Got to take the Eagles. Eagles are another one of the best teams in the NFL right now. The West, I'm taking the 49ers with Christian McCaffrey at the helm at the running back position now. They're doing fantastic. At the North, I'm taking the Vikings. And at the South, I'm taking the Bucs. And Brock alluded to it earlier. The Bucs are not as a great team as they were in the past. But, I mean, the NFC South is not very good, and they're going to run the table there. But, yeah, those are my NFC picks.
Yeah, Joe. I think it's pretty –
yeah.
I just think it's pretty obvious for most divisions at this point. Many of them are multiple games apart, and with only a couple games left, you're not really going to catch up. And like I said earlier, I don't think the South – I'm not picking the Falcons to win a division. There's no way.
No.
Yeah, I think the division winners in the NFC especially are pretty easy to tell. I will say, I will pose one question in the NFC West. 49ers and Seahawks. The 49ers at 8-4 and the Seahawks at 7-5. Geno Smith and company doing a great job at staying alive in the NFC West. The 49ers without Jimmy G. How much is that going to impact them, and can they still take that division?
I believe they could. I mean, Mr. Irrelevant has taken the helm at the quarterback position, but nonetheless, Jimmy G is a great asset for them, but Christian McCaffrey has been really taking a lot of the workload. I'm taking the 49ers in that division.
I know Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant, but he's really not like that bad of a player. In a regular draft, I don't think he would have been taken so low. They just happened to push every quarterback down the board way too far in the last draft, so he kind of went with them, and he was there for the last pick in the draft. Obviously, he's not a great player or anything, but I do think with Kyle Shanahan as coach, he's very good, he's very creative, and he still has, Debo, he still has Christian McCaffrey, and a couple of other really good playmakers, and I think they're going to be able to edge out the Seahawks.
Now let's head over to the wild card and maybe some teams that are in the hunt that you think could possibly make some noise when it comes time to the playoffs. Brock, wild card team picks for you.
Well, as far as the AFC goes, I think the Dolphins are a pretty easy pick. They're 8-4 right now, really good team. They could even compete in their division. I don't think they're going to take it over, but I do think they're going to get the first wild card spot. The Ravens, even though they're not going to win the division, I don't think they're still in a really good position to make the playoffs right now, as long as they win like a game or 2 more games like the rest of this year. So I have them in the second spot. And in the third spot, there's really only a couple teams you can look at. You can look at the Jets, But I like the Chargers a little bit better. I think their roster's better. They're one game behind the Jets right now, and I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem. I think that just having Justin Herbert at quarterback against, I know Mike White's been good so far, and I like Mike White, but he's not Justin Herbert, and I don't think their roster is quite yet what the Chargers is, even though the Jets are really on the come up.
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly with both of those teams, and the Dolphins and the Ravens. But all of your arguments make 100% sense, and I agree with all of them. The Dolphins could compete in their division, like you said, but I don't see it happening as well. They're going to be a very dangerous team in the wild card, I believe. And the only one I have different, and you make a lot of good points with the Chargers, but I am taking Mike White and the Jets. The Jets are sitting right at that cuff spot. Like, it could be either way. I feel like they can pull it off. I mean, their defense, the defense, I should say, has been very good at this season. And Mike White, I just love Mike White, man. I'm going to be honest. I hope he makes it.
Did you count how many times you said Mike White? Did you say that?
I hope. I'm going to say it again.
Who's their quarterback, Joe?
Mike White.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Now that we got it. Now to the NFC. Now, the Cowboys, Giants, and Commanders, all in the NFC East, but could potentially find those wild card spots. And a couple of other teams, obviously, in the NFC have something to say about that. But, Joe, we'll start with you this time.
Yeah. Like you said, like Brock alluded to, I should say, the Cowboys are a very dangerous team as well. I feel like they will take that top wild card spot in the NFC. And then I have another sleeper pick that a lot of people don't have on their boards. I'm taking the Lions. I believe that they can make a push at the end of the season. Like I said with the Jets, it's neck and neck. I believe Jared Goff and the Lions can make that push to get in that wild card spot. I mean, the city of Detroit is also going to love it, which I'm going to love to see as well. And I'm taking the Giants as that last spot. I mean, Saquon's been doing very good work as well as Daniel Jones, and I feel like the Giants round out that third wild card spot pretty well.
See, with your pick with the Lions, I don't necessarily think it's the worst pick. Maybe just not this year. Maybe next year. I mean, I don't completely disagree. Mm-hmm. Next year's a possibility. You're on a pretty good track there, Joe. What about you, Brock?
Yeah, I think the Cowboys at 1 is pretty easy. They're a couple games ahead. They're the better team out of all of these teams. Easy for number 1. I also have the Giants, same as Joe there. I don't have the Lions. I think the Seahawks are going to be able to sneak their way into the playoffs. I don't think they're going to be able to make much noise in the playoffs, but I do think they're going to be able to grab that last wild card spot.
Now, quickly, Super Bowl matchup, pick a winner.
I'm going Chiefs-Eagles. Give me Chiefs 25-19.
At the beginning of the year, I had the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl, and I'm still going to have the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. In the NFC, if you had asked me a week ago, I'd pick the 49ers to win that, but I'm probably going to go with the Eagles now as well.
I'm going to have to go with the Chiefs on this one. I think the Eagles or the Vikings could possibly contend for the NFC Championship, but I think the rematch a couple of years ago, but I think that the Chiefs are going to win it all. That's it for our segment here on Plead Your Case. Brock Owens, this is your final time here on the show. Joe, you still got another semester, but for you and I, this is the last time that we are on Plead Your Case. Just give a little bit of a recap, some of your thoughts about your 4 years doing the show.
I don't want to do too much, but I just want to say that this has been a tremendous show. I've loved the experience every single time I've been on. I've been on quite a few times this year and in the past. And I just really enjoy coming on this show every time. And, I produced it last year as well, so it's going to be even more bitter in that sense to have to go away from it. But I'm really going to miss coming on this show, and especially with you two gentlemen. I feel like we've been on a lot together, and it's been nothing but good times.
Yeah. You guys have been here since the beginning as well, freshman year. And these two are my dearest friends in the comm department, 2 of my dearest friends in the comm department. I love everybody here. But these two are a quintessential point in my life and in their lives as well. They're going to go on to do great things. And I'm going to miss them dearly, fellas. It's been a great ride.
Thank you. For me, I've been mostly a host on this show, and that's the position that I love doing. I would say that I'm definitely not the best person to argue points on the panel here, but these guys really know how to do it well, and I think I do well just sitting back and watch you guys do that. And I've really enjoyed every moment that I've had here on Plead Your Case. And thank you, Logan Lepiscopo, for trusting in me to do that. And thank you to the guys that have trusted me for all these years to do that here on Plead Your Case. It's a little bittersweet, but all good things must come to an end. So one final time here on Plead Your Case. Have a great night, and you've been watching WCTV.
This has been a production of Waynesburg Community Television.